Welcome to another edition of Baseball Without Borders, a podcast from the World Baseball Network. I'm Leif Skodnick, and I'm joined by my co-host and colleague Matthew Tallerini. And we haven't been doing these for the past 10 days or so because my kids have been home on spring break, and I've been on daddy daycare duty since basically the end of March. But we're back. Baseball season's underway in the United States with the major leagues and the minor leagues now underway. A lot of hot topics to talk about. And Matt, let's get right into it. The Tampa Bay Rays off to a 9-0 start, the best start in the wild card era. And, they're really getting it done. They're an organization that finds ways to win. They're scrappy. They're analytics driven. What are your thoughts on the Rays so far this season?
Yeah, I think Tampa has really shown to the baseball world that they could play in such a tough division with the Red Sox, Yankees, and Blue Jays. Having a good offensive production with guys like Randy Arozarena, who's still coming off the hot World Baseball Classic that he performed in. Isaiah Paredes also, and Harold Ramirez. I mean, a lot of those guys are key contributors through their offense, and I think that manager Kevin Cash has a good understanding of what he's also doing, let alone for the pitching staff of Tampa Bay. I feel like that Drew Ramusin has really, had good outings. I mean, for two starts. But, like I said before about Tampa, I think that if they can be consistent down the stretch towards the middle of the season, come the All-Star break of the Midsummer Classic, I think that they can make a run at this the whole way. Yes, it is early. It's a week and a half into the season. Injuries will possibly happen down the road for Tampa. But, nonetheless, these guys are out for blood. Like Wander Franco also. I felt like, he's having a good start of the season as well to help the Rays get to where they're at right now. Being the only undefeated team in Major League Baseball. And 9-0, I think that's truly impressive of where they are right now.
I mean, I'm going to throw some cold water on it here. The Rays are 9-0, and that is impressive. But who have they played? They've played Detroit, they've played Washington, they've played Oakland. Three teams that lost between them more than 300 games last year. So, obviously the Rays expect to win those games. If you win 2 out of 3, you're still well over 600, and that's great. But these are games that they should expect to win. We should expect the Rays to beat up on these franchises that are really, not putting a competitive product on the field, at least for this season. Notable, I think, just how badly they're beating these teams. They're the first team to start 9-0 since 2003 with the Royals, but
Yeah.
the run differential for the Rays, they've scored 75, they've allowed 18, so they're allowing 2 runs a game. You hold your opponent to less than 3 runs a game, you've got a really good shot at winning. And notable, and I'm getting this from AP's Noah Trister. He noted that Baseball Savant, which is where MLB hides a lot of advanced statistics, the Rays have only had a win probability less than 30% once so far this season.
Wow, that's impressive. I mean, to say the least, if you're giving up 18 runs at this time rate, it's going to be a different outlook of what you have, especially down in AAA, and the guys are going to have to make certain roster moves too with your pitching staff. But 75 runs offensively, that's a category that doesn't get overlooked at. I mean, yeah, you didn't play, in your division yet, right? You're not playing the core teams of the American League at this rate. The Astros, maybe the Twins get pesky down the stretch, the Cleveland Guardians. But, I just think that, Tampa could show some life, but it is where we are in the season at this rate of how early this is too, to see what can happen for the Rays. But yeah, being 9-0, that's huge. But yet again, they still got to map that course out with who they play in the division, before the All-Star break.
All right, so let's move on. Nolan Arenado, 300 career home runs. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's amazing to see how he's played at such a high level. Through most of his career, I feel like playing in Colorado that really benefited him to just have more of a productive career offensively. Mile High definitely has a lot of balls that go fly out of Mile High is crazy with the elevation sequence there. We could even talk about Todd Helton if we want, if we want to go that variance. But Nolan Arenado, I think, I think he is a Hall of Famer down the line if he stays healthy. I think he's a key third baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals that could help them win a championship this year. And yeah, I think Nolan Arenado, he's really the face of where baseball is going. I feel like, if when you watch a major league game and you see players like Nolan Arenado, Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, I feel like those are the type of players you want on your and you want on your team. You want to lead you out and win a series, win a championship. And I think Arenado, he could have 500 home runs if he stays healthy the course of the way. But 300, I think for at this point of his career, I think it's an amazing accomplishment that he'll continue to progress down the road. Honestly, if he
Yeah, I
stays
mean, I
healthy.
think he's a guy that's going to get to 500 home runs. I mean, he's only 31, so he's probably going to play 6, 7, 8 more seasons, barring injury. So, I certainly think 500 home runs is attainable for him. 3,000 hits, maybe not. He's at 1533 right now, but you look at the hardware that he's compiled over his time in the major leagues. He's a 7-time All-Star, 10-time Gold Glove, 6-time Platinum Glove, 5-time Silver Slugger, Defensive Player of the Year,
Mm.
3-time home run leader, 2-time RBI leader. He's hit for the cycle. I mean, he's going to be. You keep that up for a few more years, even if he doesn't get to 500 home runs, I think he'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But I mean, who knows? I've never had a Hall of Fame vote, though I certainly have my thoughts on who should get in on the first ballot and who doesn't. But everybody does,
Right. Yeah,
which is
I
why we
mean,
talk about it.
yeah, like if you're batting right overall of his career, you're batting 289. And I felt like in this era of baseball, you've seen great pitchers down the line. I mean, he entered the point of, Major League Baseball where guys like, Barry Zito were leaving. Tim Hudson were leaving, and now, he saw pitchers like Noah Syndergaard, Max Scherzer dominating the game. I mean, if you're gonna, bulk into the pitching production that you're seeing in today's game, and I feel like when Arenado pretty much entered his career, like a lot of guys were pretty much leaving, Major League Baseball having certain categorized Hall of Fame resumes or, borderline Hall of Fame resumes. But I mean, like, he's just a warrior. There's nothing to say about how he goes out and he puts on the Cardinals jersey and always wants to win. And even in the World Baseball Classics that he has played in, playing in 2 World Baseball Classics and putting on Team USA across your chest. I mean, Arenado wants to play for pride, and it's not just about how much he is getting paid. And I think it's about what his work ethic is and how he handles the craft on the field and off the field, because it's not about what you do on the field, it's also about what you do off the field as well. And I think Arenado has all those tactics, honestly.
All right, so let's move on. Yesterday, White Sox playing the Pirates. O'Neill Cruz in a kind of a tough spot. There's a ground ball to the left side at third. He's at third base. Ground ball to the third baseman. He's coming home. Catcher blocks the plate. He catches his left foot underneath him. Catches a spike in the dirt right by the plate. Breaks his left ankle, and then the benches clear. You know, I thought that it was kind of a bang bang play. The injury was unfortunate. You never want to see a player get injured, right? No one does. But
Yeah.
um, the question of whether that was an illegal blocking of the plate. I don't know. There's really no time for the catcher there, who was Sebi Zavala, to really get out of the way. So Cruz kind of had to go around him or do something, so he slid, and unfortunately, his leg got caught under him, and it looks like he's fractured his left ankle, and is going to miss some time. But I don't think there was anything intentional about it. Obviously, Carlos Santana, who is the on deck batter for the Pirates, took some exception, and benches cleared afterwards. But I think this is just a heat of the moment, bang bang play. I don't think there should be any suspensions out of it. But Matt, I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
I think overall it was, a scenario in play where you don't have the force of the plate. Second and third, if you can correct me, or the other end of why the force wasn't on. But the catcher needed to sustain a lane in order to apply the action of the play. I mean, if he's going to apply the tag and block the plate, and the direction of the baseball where the throw is being placed, I mean, you get, as a runner, or if you're going to break, in a ground ball sequence like that with less than 2 outs, you got to see the play before it happens. I mean, granted, does he hook slide? Does he swipe slide from his left hand just to get around the plate? It's a tough, mixed end of decision just to apply yourself on scoring there. And no, I don't think it was on purpose. I don't think, like any of those type of plays in an infraction type of scenario like that is on purpose. I think it's the heat of the moment that it's the White Sox and the Pirates. These two teams are not going to have certain, league, alignments with playoff scenarios. Maybe the White Sox will if they could have a stretch down the road, but they're in two different leagues, both teams. So I felt like, the tension of, this being like the third series of the season, I thought it was a little bit mishap of how, the situation was handled. But O'Neal Cruz is he's a dynamic player, and willingly he does get healthy under his own repetition and everything else. I think that he is going to be a flash end player that we're going to see in the major leagues. I think this isn't the end of him, the end of what we're going to see in O'Neal Cruz in the future, but benches clearing, White Sox Pirates, third game of the series. I mean, were the tensions really there for those two teams? I don't think so. This isn't a game in middle of July where the wild card records are kind of pairing up. So I thought, it was a little bit of a different glance for teams just to go out of the bullpens and the dugouts in that scenario, to be honest.
All right, so on we go to Jordan Walker, 20-year-old rookie for the St. Louis Cardinals, makes the team out of spring training after playing in Double A last year. And how has he responded to being a major leaguer? Well, he's gotten a hit in 9 straight games. This is a guy that I thought was a no-brainer to make the team. Hit 277 in spring training, but coming off of last season, he was in Double A with Springfield of the Texas League. He hit 306 with 141 hits, 31 doubles, 19 ding dong Johnsons, 58 walks, 22 steals, 68 RBIs. Just great numbers across Double A last year. And then, he was, I thought, the guy who absolutely should have made an opening day roster after being in Double A last year, more so than Volpe and even Brett Beatty, who got some major league time last year. And then for him to go out and do this to open the season, tremendous.
Yeah. I mean, like, we're gonna see so much pivotal players in Major League Baseball come up through the rankings. I mean, like we said before on previous podcast episodes, I think Brett Beatty will have a chance. Like, there's no question that even what Jordan Walker's doing right now, I think it's phenomenal that he can stay consistent and hit major league pitching at the level he's doing it at, let alone you're wearing that Redbirds uniform across your chest. I mean, St. Louis fans are going to let you hear it. They're not. It's maybe not the New York type of crowd that makes you hear it with more of the boo birds, but St. Louis, they have your back through the highs, through the lows, as a fan base, and I think Jordan Walker can accustom to that down the line, even forward out in his career. I think that he's making a name in baseball where, yeah, you want to go buy a ticket and go watch somebody like him play. But I think that when you have guys like him, Mookie Betts, Julio Rodriguez, and we could say that about O'Neal Cruz when he gets healthy. I think they make the game fun to watch, to be honest. I think those are the players that are bringing the excitement to the field. And I think if Jordan Walker can stay consistent, I mean, he's going to be in the bright lights through so many other stages through his career before we know it, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yep.
so a lot of exciting stuff coming up. And I think on Thursday, we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on Friday, which is, of course, Jackie Robinson Day. Every team going to be wearing number 42 as well. They should. Um,
Mhm.
but so Friday, I made a trip over to Allentown, Pennsylvania, caught up with Vito Friscia, who is a AAA catcher in the Phillies organization. Got into 5 games in spring training with the Phillies as a non-roster invitee, getting a little bit of big league experience, getting to work with JT Realmuto, among other people in the Phillies organization. But then, he's down in AAA right now. He's on the what they call the development list, which is a way to basically hold on to a guy without inactivating. Well, technically he's inactive, but he could be reactivated and play basically at any time by sending. It's probably an email now, but I still tend to think of transactions as being done by fax because that's how we did it when I was working in minor league hockey. Um, so, this is a guy that got himself in some action with Team Italy in the World Baseball Classic. He's played for Italy in the World Baseball or in the European Championship in 2021, where he's had some time around Mike Piazza, which has only if you're a catcher, getting to be around Mike Piazza only going to benefit him. And then we saw him honored with the Future Star Award at last year's Italian American Baseball Foundation Gala. So, this is a guy who's on his way up. I think we're going to see him in the big leagues at some point this year because, there's always a need to have a catcher ready to go up. He's not maybe a top prospect because he was, after all, a 40th round pick, 1200th overall, and there were 1217 total picks the year that he was selected. But I'm certainly excited to see what he does. He's a local guy for us. He's from Valley Stream over on Long Island. His father's a retired New York Police Department detective. So um, it's going to be interesting to see what he does this year and how it works out with the Phillies. Maybe he gets into some games in the outfield or at first base in AAA as well. He did play a little first base in spring training, but Matt, what do you think we're going to see out of Vito Friscia this year?
I think he's going to be a good player for Lehigh. I think he can, progress his way up the rankings through the Philadelphia Phillies. And I think also, he can maintain his frame of where he feels that he can suit himself to help the Phillies out this year. I think the point is, do they want to, adjust on him being the backup catcher down the line to JT Realmuto? I think it's kind of, a little bit of a glance that, if you have JT Realmuto, really producing good offensive numbers and let alone, really helping out around the pitching staff, I think, he can be a serviceable backup catcher for somebody, maintainly as a spot starter or as a designated primary starter, for that matter, in the Philadelphia Phillies rotation. So I think, overall, Vito, he can carry a lot of, his mechanics to the major league level. I don't see why he can't. I think he has what it takes to really, sit back and drive, his hands through the baseball, in a consistent rate. And I think that even defensively, if he can, range around playing the corner outfield scenarios too. I think he can do okay defensively too. But it's going to be a really interesting assessment from the Philadelphia Phillies front office on where they see Vito in the next few months.
All right, so that pretty much puts a wrap on everything we had on the list for today. But we'll be back Thursday with another edition of Baseball Without Borders. If you want to check out all our written journalism, including my feature on Vito Friscia, of course, go to www.worldbaseball.com. He's Matt Tallerini. I'm Leif Skodnick. Until Thursday, we remind you, smoke 'em inside.